The massive chamber was filled with strange beings. Some looked like giant lizards. Others were made of pure energy that glowed blue and green. A few had 6 arms and multiple eyes. In the center of it all sat the humans. Ambassador Minho Kim sat straight in his simple black suit. Next to him, Captain Ji-young Park watched everything with careful eyes. They were the only 2 humans in a room of over 800 alien representatives. The chamber itself was enormous, made of crystal, that seemed to bend light in impossible ways. The walls showed stars and planets floating in space. This was Nexus Prime, the center of galactic civilization. Every important species in the known universe had a seat here. Today they were all looking at the humans. High Arbiter Zelnoth floated above the center of the room. The ancient energy being had no real body, just swirling light that changed colors when it spoke. Its voice echoed in everyone's mind without using sound. "We gathered today to address the human problem," Zelnoth announced. Minho did not move. He had expected this for months. Human ships had been exploring new star systems. Human colonies were growing fast. The other species were getting nervous. Counselor Vextar stood up from the reptilian section. He was 8 feet tall with green scales and yellow eyes that never blinked. His voice was deep and harsh. "The humans have gone too far," Vextar said. "In just 50 years, they have spread to 47 star systems. They terraform planets without asking permission. They mine asteroids that belong to established trade routes. They act like they own the galaxy." Murmurs of agreement came from around the chamber. Minho noticed which species were nodding. The wealthy ones. The ones who had controlled trade for thousands of years. "They are primitives," said Counselor Zexhera from the Crystalline Federation. Her body looked like living diamond, sharp and cold. "Their technology is basic, their ships are crude, yet they dare to challenge civilized space." More aliens spoke up. Each one had the same complaint. Humans were too aggressive, too fast, too confident for such a young species. Captain Ji-young leaned close to Minho. "They sound scared," she whispered in Korean. Minho nodded slightly. Fear was exactly what he heard in their voices. High Arbiter Zelnoth raised one arm made of swirling energy. The chamber fell silent. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision," it said. "Humanity will be given one choice. Withdraw all forces to your home solar system. Accept guidance from civilized species. Learn your place in the galactic order." "And if we refuse?" Minho asked calmly. Vextar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Then we will teach you respect." The reptilian counselor activated a hologram in the center of the room. It showed massive fleets of ships, thousands upon thousands of warships from dozens of different species. "The Council has assembled the largest military force in galactic history," Vextar announced proudly. 50,000 warships, 1 billion trained soldiers. Technology that your primitive minds cannot understand. Other counselors began listing their contributions. The hegemony brought 20,000 ships. The Crystal Federation added their energy weapons. The Machine Collective offered their automated fleets. Even smaller species contributed what they could. Your entire human population is only 30 billion spread across dozens of worlds, said Counselor Mordek from the Gas Giant Alliance. We have single species with larger populations than your entire race. Laughter echoed through the chamber. Not the friendly kind. The cruel kind that came from beings who thought they were superior. Minho listened to it all without changing expression. Ji-young's hand moved slightly toward her sidearm, but Minho touched her arm. Not yet. Your largest ships are barely 500 meters long, Vextar continued. Our dreadnoughts are 10 times that size. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your primitive nuclear drives cannot outrun our quantum engines. More laughter. More boasting. Every species seemed eager to explain why humans were helpless. We offer this choice out of mercy, High Arbiter Zelnoth said. Your species shows potential. Under proper guidance, humans might become useful citizens of the galactic community. You could serve as laborers, perhaps even clerks in our administration. How generous, Minho said quietly. Several aliens missed the tone in his voice. They thought he was being sincere. You have 72 standard hours to consult with your government, Zelnoth announced. Return here with your answer. Choose surrender and guidance, or choose destruction. The chamber erupted in discussion. Species talked among themselves about how to divide human territory. Some argued about which of them would oversee human labor camps. Others discussed the resources they would gain from human worlds. Through it all, Minho sat quietly. He seemed to be thinking deeply about something. Finally, Vextar looked directly at the human ambassador. Do you have any questions about the terms primitive? Minho stood slowly. The chamber grew quiet as all eyes turned to him. He was small compared to most aliens in the room. His dark suit looked simple next to their elaborate clothing and armor. He appeared completely outmatched. I do have one question, Minho said in a clear voice. Ask it, Zelnoth commanded. Minho looked around the chamber. His eyes moved from species to species. He saw their confident smiles, their superior attitudes, their complete certainty that humans would surrender. 50,000 ships, Minho said thoughtfully. 1 billion soldiers, the largest military force in galactic history. Correct, Vextar said proudly. Minho nodded slowly. Then he smiled. It was a small smile, but somehow it made several aliens shift uncomfortably in their seats. Is that all? Minho asked. The chamber fell completely silent. For a moment, no one seemed to understand what they had heard. Vextar's yellow eyes narrowed. What did you say? I asked if that was all. Minho repeated calmly. 50,000 ships seems like a good start. I was wondering if you had more. The silence stretched longer. Then angry voices began shouting from all directions. How dare you? Primitive arrogance. You will learn respect. But Minho just kept smiling that small, confident smile. Next to him, Captain Ji-Young was also smiling now. High Arbiter Zelnoth's energy form flared brighter. You mock the might of 800 civilized species? Not at all, Minho said politely. I'm just trying to understand the full scope of what we're facing. 50,000 ships is indeed impressive. I'll be sure to include that number in my report to Earth. He paused, looking thoughtful again. Though I admit, I expected more from 800 species working together. The shouting got louder. Several aliens stood up from their seats. A few moved toward the human section before security stepped in. Minho bowed slightly to High Arbiter Zelnoth. With your permission, I'll return to my ship to contact Earth. We'll have an answer for you in 72 hours. You may go, Zelnoth said coldly. As Minho and Ji-Young walked toward the exit, alien voices followed them. Stupid humans. They don't understand what they're facing. This will be the shortest war in galactic history. But some of the older, wiser species remained quiet. They had noticed something in the human ambassador's voice. A confidence that didn't match the situation. A calm that suggested hidden knowledge. As the humans disappeared through the chamber doors, a few aliens began to wonder. What if the humans knew something they didn't? The secure communication room on Ambassador Minho's ship was completely silent. 3 holographic images flickered in the blue light. Earth's most powerful leaders were waiting for his report. President Dongyan Moon sat behind his desk in Seoul. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Next to him appeared Admiral Tae-Ho Lee, the Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces. The third figure was Dr. Yuna Cho, Earth's Chief Science Officer. Report, Ambassador, President Moon said quietly. Minho straightened in his chair. The Council has given us 72 hours to surrender all territory beyond Earth's solar system. If we refuse, they will attack with 50,000 warships. Admiral Tae-Ho laughed. It was not a happy sound. 50,000? That's all? My thoughts exactly, Minho replied. They seem very confident in their superior numbers and technology. Dr. Yuna leaned forward. Did they mention anything about their ship designs, weapon types, standard energy shields, quantum drives, and plasma cannons? Minho said. Nothing we haven't seen before. They're using the same technology they've had for centuries. President, Moon nodded slowly. Then they have no idea what we've been preparing. None at all, sir. The president looked at each of his advisors. Gentlemen, lady, it's time. Admiral Lee, activate Sleeping Giant Protocol. Admiral Tejo's smile was cold and sharp. With pleasure, Mr. President. Across human space, a signal went out. It was not sent on normal communication channels. Instead, it traveled through quantum networks that the galactic community didn't know existed. The message was simple. 3 words in Korean. Jamjanan Goin. Sleeping Giant. On 47 human worlds, people received the signal and began to move. In the asteroid fields around New Busan, massive rocks suddenly split open. Hidden inside were shipyards that had been building in secret for 20 years. Thousands of workers poured out of concealed tunnels. Ships that looked like ordinary cargo vessels began changing shape, revealing weapons and armor. On the farming world of New Daegu, innocent-looking grain silos opened up. Inside were missile, launchers, and defense platforms. The farmers were actually military engineers who had been preparing for this day. In the deep space between star systems, what looked like empty nothing suddenly lit up with activity. Cloaked stations became visible as their hiding systems shut down. Each one was a fortress armed with weapons the galactic community had never seen. Admiral Tejo stood in Earth's Global Defense Command Center, deep underground in the mountains of South Korea. The massive room was filled with screens showing every human world. Officers worked at hundreds of stations, coordinating the largest military operation in human history. Status report, Tejo. Ordered. All colonies responding, sir, reported Captain Seonho Park. Sleeping Giant is fully active. Hidden fleets? Coming online now, sir. Outer Rim shipyards are at full production. The ghost factories are beginning assembly. Tejo nodded. For 30 years, humans had been preparing for this moment. They knew that eventually, the older species would try to stop human expansion, so they had planned ahead. Dr. Yuna appeared on his personal screen. Admiral, our special projects are ready for deployment. The quantum disruptors? Tested and armed. Alien shields won't stop them. Their energy-based defenses will actually make our weapons stronger. And the temporal mines? Dr. Yuna smiled. Any ship that enters a minefield will find itself aging very quickly. A few seconds of exposure will turn their hulls to rust. These were technologies that human scientists had developed in secret. While the galactic community used the same weapons for thousands of years, humans had been innovating, creating new ways to fight that their enemies couldn't imagine. On the intelligence level, Director Hana Sung was coordinating her networks. For decades, humans had been placing agents throughout alien space, not as spies, but as friends. Humans who worked on alien ships traded with alien merchants, even married into alien families. Now those agents were reporting everything they saw. The Council fleets are gathering at Rally Point 7, reported Agent Kyung-jae Im from deep in hegemony space. They're bringing ships from storage that haven't been used in centuries. Confirmed sighting of crystalline Federation dreadnoughts, added Agent Minji Kang from the Crystal Worlds. Old designs, but very big. Their captains are boasting about easy victory. All across the galaxy, human agents sent information, ship numbers, weapon types, battle plans. The aliens thought their military preparations were secret. They were wrong. But the aliens had their own spies watching human space. Counselor Vextar read the reports with growing confusion. This can't be correct, he told his intelligence chief. The numbers have been verified 3 times, sir, replied Colonel Thexmar. Human military assets are far beyond what we calculated. How many ships? Initial reports suggest over 100,000 combat vessels, but that's impossible. We've never seen more than a few thousand human ships. Vextar threw the report across his office. Humans are lying. They're painting cargo ships to look like warships. They're inflating their numbers to make us negotiate. This was the reaction throughout the Galactic Council. When their spies reported impossible human fleet sizes, the aliens simply refused to believe it. When scouts observed massive shipyards, they dismissed it as human tricks. When energy readings showed advanced weapons, they called it sensor malfunction. The council had convinced itself that humans were primitive. They would not accept evidence that contradicted this belief. Meanwhile, human colonies were transforming. Families with children evacuated to protected systems, but most humans stayed. They had jobs to do. On New Sol, factory worker Young Min, Lee helped assemble fighter craft. "My grandfather fought in Earth's wars," he told his daughter. "Now it's our turn to protect our worlds." On Busan Station, engineer Hyejong Kim worked 20-hour shifts preparing defense platforms. "The aliens think we're weak because we're young," she said. "They'll learn differently." In the outer colonies, civilians joined military units. Farmers became soldiers, miners became ship crews, teachers became intelligence officers. Every human had trained for this possibility. General Shungjin Bei reviewed the mobilization reports. 3 billion humans were now under arms. Another billion supported them in factories and bases. Every person knew their role. "The aliens count our population and think we're outnumbered," he told his staff. "They don't understand that every human is a soldier when threatened." President Moon made one final call to Ambassador Minho. "What should I tell the council?" Minho asked. "Tell them exactly what they expect to hear," the president replied. "That humanity rejects their demands, that we will defend our worlds. Let them think they know what that means. And our real preparations? Stay hidden until the shooting starts. Let them come confident and unprepared." As the 72 hours counted down, both sides prepared for war. The Galactic Council gathered their massive fleets, certain of easy victory. Ancient species dusted off old warships and recalled veterans from retirement. But in human space, something different was happening. Technologies that shouldn't exist were coming online. Fleets that had been hidden for decades revealed themselves. A young species was showing that they had learned the most important lesson of survival: always be ready for the worst. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's greatest strength was not their courage or their unity. It was their ability to prepare for problems that hadn't happened yet. The countdown continued. War was coming, and only one side truly knew what they were facing. The alien fleet arrived at Kepler Colony expecting an easy victory. 2,000 warships from 12 different species dropped out of hyperspace near the small human settlement. The colony had only 50,000 people and looked defenseless. Admiral Krextoth of the Hegemony Navy smiled as he looked at the tactical display. "Primitive human ships detected," his scanner officer reported. 200 vessels, small and crude design. "Only 200? Krextoth laughed. "This will be over in minutes. All ships attack formation. Show these humans the price of defying the council." The massive alien fleet moved forward like a wall of death. Their ships were enormous. Some were 3 kilometers long with armor, plating that could stop nuclear weapons. Their shields glowed bright blue as energy weapons charged, but something was wrong. "Sir," the scanner officer said nervously, "the human ships are moving very fast." On the bridge of the human flagship, Indomitable, Commander Jinho Wang watched the alien fleet approach. His ship looked small and simple compared to the alien dreadnoughts, but looks could lie. "All ships, this is Indomitable," he said calmly. "Remember your training. Fast, hard, and no mercy. Make them count every shot." Lieutenant Nayoung Kim sat in her fighter cockpit, watching the enemy fleet fill her screen. "Dragon Squadron ready," she reported. "We see the targets." "Then let's go to work," Jinho replied. The human ship suddenly accelerated. Not the slow, steady movement the aliens expected. They shot forward like bullets, reaching speeds that should have been impossible for ships their size. "What the hell?" Admiral Krextoth shouted. "How are they moving so fast?" His question was answered when the first human ship slammed into an alien cruiser. But instead of destroying itself, the human ship's shields flared bright white and cut through the alien hull like it was paper. The ship kept flying. It had punched a hole clean through the cruiser and was already turning to attack another target. "Ramming attack!" someone screamed over the alien communication channels. "They're using ramming attacks!" But it wasn't just ramming. Human weapons opened fire as they passed through the alien formation. Energy beams that cut through alien shields like they weren't there. Missiles that exploded inside enemy ships instead of against their armor. Engineer Hyunwoo Lim watched his weapon readings with satisfaction. Quantum disruptors working perfectly, he reported to Commander Jinho. Their shields are actually making our weapons stronger. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their energy shields, which had protected them for thousands of years, were useless. Worse than useless. They were helping the human weapons cut deeper. Lieutenant Na Young led her fighter squadron through the chaos. Human fighters were tiny compared to alien ships, but they moved like angry wasps, stinging everywhere at once. Target their weapon systems, she ordered her pilots. Make them helpless before we finish them. Human fighters dove between the massive alien ships, firing at specific points. Within minutes, alien dreadnoughts found their main guns offline, their missile launchers destroyed, their communications cut. Admiral Krextoth watched his fleet falling apart. This is impossible. They're too small, too primitive. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we've lost 30 ships in the first 5 minutes. Human casualties appear to be 0. 0? How? The answer came when Krextoth watched a human ship get hit by a massive alien plasma cannon. The shot should have vaporized the human vessel. Instead, the ship's hull seemed to absorb the energy and then exploded outward, destroying 3 alien ships in the blast. They're turning our own weapons against us, the tactical officer whispered. Across the battlefield, human ships fought with a fury that shocked the aliens. When damaged, they didn't retreat. They attacked harder. When surrounded, they didn't surrender. They kept fighting until their ships exploded, taking enemies with them. Tactical Officer Su Young-yu coordinated the battle from the Indomitable's bridge. Enemy formation breaking apart, she reported. They're trying to retreat. Let them run, Commander Jinho ordered, but make sure they remember this day. The surviving alien ships fled into hyperspace, leaving behind wreckage and confusion. Of the 2,000 ships that had attacked Kepler Colony, only 800 escaped. The humans had lost 12 ships. Word of the defeat spread quickly through the Galactic Council fleets. At first, most commanders refused to believe the reports. Impossible, declared Admiral Vorthak of the Crystal Federation. 2,000 ships defeated by 200 primitives? Someone is lying. But more battles brought the same results. At New Busan, 3,000 alien ships attacked 500 human defenders. The aliens lost half their fleet. At Cheonan Station, a human mining operation fought off 4 different alien task forces in one day. The pattern was always the same. Aliens arrived expecting easy victory. Humans fought with weapons and tactics that defied explanation. Alien fleets retreated in confusion and terror. On the medical ship Hope, medic Yoon Ji-han treated wounded soldiers from the latest battle. How are they holding up? Asked her assistant. Better than expected, Yoonji replied, bandaging a pilot's arm. Na Young here took a direct hit from an alien fighter. Her ship was cut in half, but she kept flying until she rammed her enemy. Lieutenant Na Young smiled weakly. Can't let them think humans are easy targets. This was what confused the aliens most. Human soldiers who should have died kept fighting. Ships that should have exploded kept attacking. Colonies that should have surrendered kept resisting. Back on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The chamber that had been filled with confident boasting now echoed with angry arguments and frightened whispers. How many fleets have we lost? High Arbiter Zelnoth demanded. Counselor Vextar read from a long list. 17 major task forces. Over 10,000 ships destroyed or missing. Human losses are... He paused. Minimal. Define minimal. Less than 300 ships in 6 months of fighting. The chamber fell silent. These numbers made no sense. The humans were supposed to be primitive. Their technology was supposed to be crude. Their tactics were supposed to be simple. Instead, they fought like demons with weapons that seemed to come from the future. What do our intelligence reports say? Zelnoth asked. Intelligence Chief Morgak stood nervously. Sir, our analysis suggests that humans have been holding back. Holding back? What do you mean? The ships they're using now are different. from what we observed before. Faster, stronger, better armed. Our experts believe they've been hiding their true capabilities for decades. Counselor Vextar slammed his fist on his desk. You're telling me that those primitives have been lying to us? Making us think they were weak? It appears so, sir. Around the chamber, alien representatives began to understand the truth. Humanity had never been primitive. They had been preparing, studying alien weaknesses, building weapons specifically designed to fight Council forces. The humans had played a game of deception for 50 years, and now the galaxy was paying the price. How many ships do they really have? Zelnoth asked quietly. Unknown, sir. Every battle reveals new human fleets we didn't know existed. Current estimates suggest, well, they might have more ships than the entire Council combined. Fear spread through the chamber like poison. The confident predators had become confused prey, and somewhere in human space their enemies were probably laughing. The war was just beginning, and already the Galactic Council was learning a hard lesson. Never underestimate the quiet ones. 6 months after the war began, it was over. The same crystal chamber on Nexus Prime that had once echoed with alien boasting now sat mostly empty. Of the 800 species that had declared war on humanity, less than 200 representatives remained. The others had either been destroyed or had fled to distant parts of the galaxy. Ambassador Minho Kim walked through the chamber doors once again. But this time, he was not alone. Behind him came Admiral Taeho Lee, Dr. Yuna Cho, and dozens of other human officials. They were no longer visitors begging for mercy. They were the new authority. The remaining alien representatives sat in their seats like frightened children. High Arbiter Zelnoth still floated above the center, but its energy form was dim and weak. The proud Counselor Vextar was gone. His ship had been destroyed 3 months ago when he tried to attack a human medical convoy. Representatives of the former Galactic Council, Minho began, his voice calm and steady. The war you declared on humanity is over. No one argued. They had all seen the reports. Human fleets now controlled every major trade route. Alien military bases had surrendered or been destroyed. The mighty Council Navy that had boasted 50,000 ships now had fewer than 5,000 vessels still flying. We are here to discuss the terms of peace, Minho continued. Counselor Mordak from the Gas Giant Alliance stood up shakily. What do you want from us? It was the question they all feared to ask. Throughout galactic history, the winner of a war took everything. Territory, resources, populations. The conquered species became slaves or were wiped out completely. Minho looked around the chamber. We want you to stop hurting the small species. Silence. The aliens looked confused. That's all? Asked Counselor Thexvara from the Maritime Collective. That's all, Minho confirmed. Dr. Yuna stepped forward. For the past 6 months, we've been studying your records. Do you know what we found? The aliens waited nervously. We found that the Galactic Council was built on fear, Yuna continued. Big species bullying small ones, forcing them to give up their resources, making them work as slaves, threatening to destroy anyone who complained. Admiral Taeho activated a hologram in the center of the room. It showed star maps with hundreds of small civilizations marked in red. These are species that your council has conquered or destroyed in the past 1,000 years, Taeho said. Over 600 civilizations, billions of innocent beings. The remaining aliens shifted uncomfortably. They had always justified their actions as bringing order to chaos or civilizing primitive species. But when the numbers were laid out so clearly, it looked like exactly what it was: bullying. When humans first entered galactic space, Minho explained, we thought the Council was a force for peace. We tried to follow your rules, but then we started meeting the small species you were oppressing. More holograms appeared. Images of small frightened aliens hiding in asteroid fields. Refugee ships fleeing from Council forces. Entire civilizations asking humans for protection. The Kelphi people asked us to hide them from your tax collectors, Yuna said. The gentle folk begged us to protect their children from your slave markets. The tree singers wanted our help to stop you from cutting down their forest worlds. Understanding began to dawn on some of the alien faces. Every human colony you attacked, Admiral Tejo continued, was protecting refugees from Council oppression. Every human ship you destroyed was carrying supplies to species you were trying to starve. Every human base you targeted was a shelter for beings you had made homeless. Counselor Mordak spoke in a whisper. You mean, you weren't expanding for conquest? We were expanding to help, Minho replied simply. The revelation hit the chamber like a physical blow. The war they had started was not against an aggressive invader. It was against a rescue operation. High Arbiter Zelnoth's energy form flickered weakly. If this is true, then we attacked you for saving people we were hurting. Yes, Minho said, and you could have told us this at any time. Would you have listened? Zelnoth had no answer. Director Hana Sung stepped forward with a data pad. The new galactic structure will be simple. Any species that wants to join the human alliance may do so freely. Any species that wants to remain independent may do so safely. But no species will be allowed to conquer, enslave, or destroy another. What, if we refuse? Asked Counselor Thexvara. Admiral Tejo smiled coldly. You've seen what human ships can do to military targets. Would you like to see what we can do to entire fleets? The threat was clear. Humanity now had the strongest military in the galaxy. They could enforce their rules whether the old council liked it or not. But then Minho spoke again, and his words surprised everyone. However, he said, we would prefer cooperation to force. The council species have knowledge and experience that could benefit everyone. We're offering you a chance to help build something better. Over the next hour, the terms were laid out. The old council was dissolved. In its place would be the Galactic Alliance, led by humanity, but open to all species that followed the basics. Rules: no conquest, no slavery, no genocide. Former council species could join if they released all conquered peoples and paid reparations for past crimes. Most agreed immediately. A few proud species refused and departed for the galaxy's outer rim, where they could nurse their wounded pride in isolation. The small species that had been hiding from the council began to emerge. Ship after ship arrived at human ports, bringing grateful refugees back to their homeworlds. Children who had been sold into slavery were reunited with their families. Entire civilizations that had been written off as extinct suddenly reappeared. As the formal ceremony ended, Counselor Mordak approached Minho privately. I must ask, the alien said. Your technology, your weapons, your tactics, where did they come from? How did you advance so quickly? Minho smiled. We didn't advance quickly. We've had this technology for decades. Then why did you hide it? Because we hoped we would never need it, Minho replied. Humans prefer to solve problems with words, not weapons, but when words fail, he didn't need to finish the sentence. There's something else you should know, Minho added. When we first met, the council, we were actually impressed by your technology and organization. We spent years trying to learn from you, and we discovered that your technology hadn't improved in thousands of years. You had become comfortable with your power. You stopped innovating because you didn't think you needed to. Mordak nodded, slowly. While you kept advancing. While we kept preparing for the day someone would try to stop us from helping people. As the alien representatives left Nexus Prime, many carried a new understanding. The species they had dismissed as primitive had actually been the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Not in weapons or ships, but in the thing that mattered most, the desire to protect others. Ambassador Minho stood alone in the empty chamber, looking out at the stars. Captain Ji-Young Park joined him. Do you think it will work? She asked. This new alliance? It will work, Minho replied confidently, because now the small species have someone to protect them, and the big species know what happens to bullies who go too far. Outside the station, human ships patrolled the space lanes, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The galaxy was finally safe for the gentle species that just wanted to live in peace. The war was over. The real work was just beginning. and humanity was ready for both.